Hey everybody, Brandon Peterson here again for a Tech Biz tutorial. This is kind of for the IT fundamentals class for some online content. Um, as in class we've been working through hardware of computers, different parts of a PC, and learning what those components are, what they do, and we've covered a lot of information. And now we're kind of getting close to our assessment where you're going to be designing a computer build, and you're going to design that build for a purpose important to you, whether it's a budget build for a new college student or for a gaming PC or for a high-end graphic edit and video editing PC or whatever or a family computer, whatever the case is. You're going to come up with an idea for a PC that you want to build, and then put together all the components and make a price list so you can see how much it would cost and to do those kind of things. And whatever those purposes are that you want to make yours, your alls are going to be a little bit different for the most part. So I just wanted to show you how we're actually going to do that, how we're going to find all those components and for the most part check to see if they're compatible and everything. And we're going to use this PC part picker. PCpartpicker.com is a web service that allows you to create or to come up with an idea for building a PC, and it will kind of let you know if things are compatible, if there's going to be any issues or anything. And then at the end you can add it to a shopping list, and it'll open up like Amazon and Newegg.com, all those different web pages, and you can kind of make your shopping list and do all that stuff and purchase a PC if you wish to. For this, we're going to put together a presentation based on our PC builds that we're going to turn in for the assessment for class, because we're assessing whether or not we can identify current and emerging hardware trends in PCs and computers. So that's how we're doing that. So we're not going to have to worry about purchasing this in real life. You just want to be aware that if you wanted to build a PC later, you could use this resource. I've had a few students who have gone on to build their PCs and they use this and put together some good builds with it. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. You can create an account if you want. I'm not going to right now, because this is just demonstration purposes. So I'm going to go up on the left hand side from PCpartpicker.com, click on System Builder, and they have different build guides that you can use, but we kind of want to create ours from scratch. Alright, so here's a list of all the components we've been learning about in class. Alright, and they give you a little share list so you can view that somewhere else or share that shared list or share that link with somebody, to say, hey, this is a PC I'm making, how does this look? That kind of thing. And you can either start with the motherboard or you can start with the CPU. It's kind of up to you. I'm going to just go down the list here to go through it. So I'm going to choose a CPU. Click on the button, choose a CPU. It takes you into this whole list. So they have all sorts, like you could decide if you want it to be AMD or if you want it to be Intel. For the processor, and I'm not going to go through each of these things in a high detail because this is for those of you who are in my class, or if you're just interested in PC Part Picker. But my primary target is for my students, so you can kind of see how to use this if you were gone the day in class when we went over this. So for this here, I'm going to choose just for whatever. It gives you some ratings and some prices on the side. I'm going to go with the Intel Core i7. So we look here, 3.6 gigahertz with a boost of 4.9, and it tells me the wattage. And then we also have, if it's got integrated graphics, and then all that kind of thing. So this is on here. So I'm going to go over here, and if I wanted to, you could make a clip of that picture and put that in your presentation when you're turning that into me. Alright, and then we can use PC Part Picker is where we're going to find most of our information for your presentations that we've talked about in class. Anyway, I'm going to click here, and I'm not making this one for any purpose other than showing you, because I don't want to say, hey, I'm going to make a budget build and then have half my students go to make a budget build. I want you to kind of figure it out. So this is just going to be kind of showing you how the web page works, and then you'll decide which components you need for your build based on your purpose that you turn into me. So I'm going to click Add, and it takes you back to your System Builder page, and we have here this on here, and it gives me all of that information from that other page in there. It gives you an estimated wattage in the upper right hand corner. That'll come in obviously important when we talk about the power supply later. Alright, for the CPU cooler, some of these CPUs will come with a cooler in it, so you may look at that. You know, it may be more important to you if you are choosing, you know, a budget build. You know, maybe you don't want to put another one in. Maybe yours requires, you know, more cooling, whatever. For mine right here, I'm just going to use, I think this is actually the same fan that from my CPU that I put in my PC build that I'm currently doing this demonstration off of, actually. But I'm going to use this Cool Master one right here. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to go to Add, and then we have it in here. When compatibility up here, it'll let us know the moment that something is not compatible. That'll turn red, and it'll give you some instances, you know, of things you need to go back and look at. Okay, so for the motherboard, I'm going to go in here, and I need one that's, you know, compatible with my CPU, and also I want to make sure it has like enough spaces for the RAM that I want, you know. So like here, this one, this computer, or this motherboard can be up to 128 gigabytes of RAM, and it has 4 memory slots. Okay, so that might be something that I want. Alright, this one here, it doesn't have a price on it up there, so if you want it to be price accurate, you know, that you may want to choose one of those for your build for this activity. For right now, I'm going to go just with this B365M, max memory up to 64 gig of RAM. It's got 4 memory slots, so if I wanted to, I could, you know, use half of them and then keep the other 2 for upgradable from my computer, you know. So I'm gonna click Add for that on there. Alright, and you can see it gives you the places where you can purchase these, and I think that somewhere in the settings you can go and choose different places, but by default it's going to usually have the cheapest option available, and sometimes it's cheaper because of a mail-in rebate, you know, so that, you know, maybe it's not going to be as cheap as some of the other ones that don't have the mail-in rebate, but you get that idea. Okay, so this one was up to 64, I believe, and there was 4 spots, so it could use 16. We could use like 16 gig of RAM or something like that for this. So for right now, I'm just going to go here for this one because it has 2 modules, 16 gig of RAM each, and then I could put one into 2 of the different RAM slots. And you'll remember that from the video we watched on how to assemble a PC and how those look. So if you don't know what I'm talking about and you're in my class, make sure you go back to those resources we looked at in class to refresh your memory. So I'm going to choose this. That'll give me 32 gig of RAM for this particular PC build. Alright, and that's on there. Next thing we have is our storage. Alright, and so it'll tell you in here if this is like a physical spinning type hard drive, you know, because it'll give you the RPM on here. And then if it's a solid state drive, then it says SSD on here. And we talked about those in class. The SSD are going to be more expensive, but they're faster. They take up less room and all that. For right now, I'm going to go with just this. I'll go with this one here. I'll go with the SSD in there. 500 gigabytes of space. You can see where it has the capacity for the amount of hard drive space that it has, where it can store things like your programs. And for right now, I'm just going to choose this one up here. 500 gigabytes may not be near enough, you know, for some of you who are, you know, want to do the video editing and those type of things. And we talked about that in class as well. So I'm going to add, I'm going to add this second one right here. And there we go. Video card. Now our CPU, I believe, has an integrated video card with it. But if you want to do any kind of gaming, you know all the stuff for that. Or if you want to do some 3D editing, 3D model creation and manipulation, or video editing, or use Adobe After Effects, your graphic cards are important. You know, not just for gaming, but also for graphic and video editing, important too. So, you know, it kind of depends on what you're going for on these. All right, you want to make sure it meets your requirements for what you're trying to do. If you know you want to run Adobe Creative Cloud, or if you know you want to run a certain game, you know, make sure you look at those system requirements and see which ones work for that, and make sure it's something that's going to be able to run what you actually want to run on the machine. Whole bunch of variety of these in here. For right now, I'm going to go with 1660. Yeah, here we go. So I'm going to select that one, and up here we're still good here. It's still adding on to our wattage for our power. For the case, you know, we haven't talked as much about cases in class, other than the fact, you know, I said I like to choose ones that give me a lot of room to work with in there, that have cable management's important for your cables to not be all tangled. You can have little places for them to be out of the way. So when you go in and do upgrades, it's more organized inside your case. I like open area with good airflow, you know, to keep the temperatures down when your computer's running. Some people like to have the LED lights on them and all that. To me, that's not so important. You know, the first time I made a PC build, I had a really awesome looking case, and then I was like, geez, this is expensive. The first thing I did was found a much cheaper case for it when I started actually being serious about building a computer. Alright, so in here I'm going to just kind of choose one of these mid towers to make sure it fits everything in there. Pretty much all these to start with are mid towers, but they have a ton of different cases in here. So I'm just going to go with this first one on here. $70, not terrible. Alright, so we added that on there. Okay, so now the power supply. Obviously, you want to go quite a bit larger than the power supply possible wattage on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look in here. I know that this is 329 watts. This is powering all of your components, right? So I want to find something that is higher than that. All right, so I'm going to look in here, and depending on what you liked from the research that we've done, from what we talked about in class, you know, you can kind of decide what you want. I'm going to go with this Cool Master MWE Gold, and I'm going to add that into here. All right. Now for optical drive, sometimes, yeah, they haven't had the optical drives in here, which is a little bit annoying. They didn't the last time I did, but like 2 times ago when I went to this site, they did have those disk drives for that. So that's something you may want to look at when you could go to Amazon.com or whatever and look up optical drives and see what motherboard that they're compatible with, and then you can compare it to the motherboard here, and they should tell you the wattage requirements for those, and then you would just kind of be able to use your math skills to make sure that this number is still less than this number, right? So I'm not really sure. I haven't ever heard a reason why those aren't on there, but more and more you're seeing less use for those drives anyway. But sometimes people still like to have those. So optical drive for our class, for what we're doing in class, I'll leave that optional up to you. If you want to go and find it on Amazon and put it in there because it's important for you, make sure you do that, right? And then if it's not important to you or whatever, you don't have to find that in there. The other thing we got is the operating system. We haven't talked a lot about operating systems because we just are learning about hardware right now in class. We get to operating systems next. But this would be like if you want Windows to be, if you want an installation of Windows to order that. Maybe you already have it at home. Maybe you're just going to run Linux on your machine, whatever. But here you would be able to add your operating system if you want. So I'll kind of leave that up to you. If I do select on this, you can kind of see on here we got Windows. I could go Windows 10 Pro 64-bit, and then I can select add over here, and then they will send you either the information or whatever to download it, or if it's an actual thumb drive or whatever that the company's using to send it, then you can install that Windows onto your PC after you install it. We'll learn about how to do that after this PC build. We'll talk when we get to operating systems. We learn how to do that. Any other software that you want with you, while you're doing that, that's up to you. Again, monitor, it's kind of up to you for your PC build for this project. If you decide that you want to include a monitor, you can go in there and find one that's works with your graphic card, and think of the size that you want, what you want for the refresh rate. If you're just browsing the internet, you don't need to worry about refresh rate too much. If you're a gamer, then that refreshing rate is much more important to you. Your 1080 if you want your high resolution, those kind of things, in the screen size, that's kind of up to you. So if you may decide that you want to purchase that while you're doing this, maybe you already have a great monitor at home and you're just going to change the PC. Doesn't matter to me if you include the monitor or not. Just make sure that if you decide to add it in there, that you have a rationale. I want this one because this is going to give me plenty of real estate when I'm editing videos, right? External storage, like if you want an external hard drive, an external SSD hard drive or something to store, family pictures on or whatever, in case something goes wrong with the computer ever, And then we're not doing anything about the laptop. We're just doing a PC build for this. And then anything else, they have other accessories here, peripherals if you want to order your keyboard, mice, all that kind of thing. Again, those things after we get to past optical drive, and maybe optical drive if you decide you don't want that. Everything after that's kind of up to you for your project. All right. So, a lot of people have their if you have a perfectly great keyboard, maybe you don't want to buy another keyboard just to save you some money. If you have a great mouse, okay. If you have great speakers already, then you don't need to buy more speakers unless you want to. So that then takes us down here to our price, and then we have that information on there. Once you get down here, it'll tell you some compatibility notes that you may need to look at, and they might say something like, hey, when you are putting this together, maybe you need to look at this, or you need to look at that. So you can look at the compatibility notes, and then down here it kind of gives you a little infographic of that as well. And yeah, there's your PC build. Check your deal up here when you're done. Make sure your final wattage is done, and then that's how we can use PC Part Picker to create that. So kind of a cool tool to use when you're interested in that, and it's going to make your research for your PC build project go a lot better, because this is going to help you determine what the components are. It's got everything listed there that we need, so that'll be a good memory refresher for you. And then it's going to let you know the price. It's going to let you know what size of the power supply that you need, and that everything's compatible. And then you can just take your information from this list and make it into whatever presentation you want. Maybe you're going to make a video, maybe you're going to make a slideshow, maybe you're going to write a paper about it. Don't just copy the list and send it to me. Show me what you created, and then give me some rationale about it. What was the purpose of the build, and then tell me if this computer meets the needs that you want to build this computer for. So hopefully that helps out. Again, that's PCPartPicker.com, and this is helping us to kind of wrap up our section on hardware for our IT fundamentals class. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions.